This is our masterclass number 3. Hi and welcome, Helena.
Hi, Eva. How are you today?
I'm totally super fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And hope our viewers are the same.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope you are joining us now. Let's see if we are live. Yes, we are. So welcome back for our masterclass number 3. And it is about how to bring more business with the SDGs to your company and to yourself. So we have had actually, Helena, I just looked at the numbers, a little bit above 1,000 viewers for these 2 masterclasses. And it's totally wow. It's like, I'm so amazed. And there are so many countries participating in this. And I think it's amazing that we can actually spread the word of sustainability and the SDGs to people all over the world. And this masterclasses is about how to work with it as a company.
And it's wonderful, Eva. We have covered why to work with this. And yesterday we talked about what to do. And we will continue talking about what to do before we go further into how.
Yes, exactly. And we would love to know if you participated yesterday and this Monday, and also where you're from, which country. Again, there are so many countries joining us now, but please just write where you're from and do a thumbs up if you were here this Monday and Tuesday, and if you participated in the masterclass 1 and 2. And also, we use the workbook that we have sent out to you. So if you don't have the workbook, I will just upload it right now. Let's see if I can manage to do it. I have the voice on. Let's see. Okay, do we have people here? Can you see if there are people joining us, Helena?
There are, and I would say hello to Charlotte. Hello, Caroline. Nice to see you. Martin from UK. And yeah, I guess it's a neighbor of yours, Eva. It's Charlotte from Bjärred.
Yes. Hello, Charlotte. Hi. Yes, welcome. And you said also Martin. Hello, and Caroline. Hi. Welcome to this masterclass number 3. So again, we have uploaded the workbook as a link in the comments field. So just click on that and join the masterclasses, and the workbook will come to your email automatically. So let's see who's here and where you're from. I see that we also have Italy here, and Brenda in sunny London. Wow, we do not have sun here in Sweden. Yeah, it's wonderful that you have sun in London, actually. I think Helena, in December, we had what did we have? 1 hour, 2 hours of sun?
It was not much. I mean, I live at Öland, which is the most sunny place to be if you're in Sweden. And we didn't see the sun a lot of times, but when we did, we enjoyed it very much.
Great. So let's see. Stefan is here again. Great to see you, Stefan. You have been here with us for this is your 3rd day, so amazing. Another one from Bjärred, the center of the SDG world. Yes. And Katarina, thank you for joining us today as well. Jasmina from the US, welcome. Okay. So let's see. I will share a couple of slides with you. Peter Kiss from Helsingborg in Sweden. Hello. So I will share a couple of slides, and also do follow that and bring your workbook with you, because today we are going to work, and we are going to work fast. So you have to, be 100% with us, focused, because this is only for 1 hour, and we will try to squeeze as much information to you as possible, because we really want you to manage this, to get clear, super clear on why it is important to work with the SDGs and sustainability in companies, and also what you need to do. And then on Masterclass 4, we will cover how you do it. So let's see. I would like to share my screen now. Let's see where we have there it is. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, and we have the wrong, I think we are here now. Yeah. Okay. So welcome to Masterclass 3, how to bring more business to your company with the SDGs. And today, as I said, we are going to cover what you need to do to integrate the Sustainable Development Goals in your business strategy. And again, this famous bridge, I think by now, this is the bridge in Bjärred. It is actually where I live. And today I was doing, how do you say that in English? Kallbada.
Winter bathing.
Winter bathing today. So just a couple of hours ago, I did dip myself, the whole body, of course, in the water, and it was 5 Celsius degrees, but it was wonderful. So why I'm showing this picture is because to work with your dream, because it is so important to have dreams and to try to achieve your dreams. So my tip for you is to begin with the end in mind and start with the end outcome and work backwards to make your dream possible. So, and this is relating to the Sustainable Development Goals. Again, it is a huge, I mean, there are 169 sub-targets, 232 indicators, and it can be overwhelming when you start to work with it, but have the end in mind when you start and work backwards. So again, we ask you this question. You are here because we don't know, and we want to find out why you are here. And the reason is because we want to give you as much of, how do you say that, service as possible today. So that's why we're keen on knowing where you are at and why you are here. So we think that maybe you are someone who runs a small, medium-sized company and want to make sure that you're doing business in a sustainable manner and lack the strategy to do so. Or maybe you are already working with sustainability but don't know how to apply the Sustainable Development Goals in your business strategy. Or you feel that everybody is talking about the SDGs and you would also want to learn more about the goals and how to integrate them in your company. And also, if you are perhaps an entrepreneur or a CEO of your company and working with the boards of directors, but maybe you're uncertain of how to approach the SDGs, or you are in the situation of thinking about how to reskill and upskill for the future. And also, please share if you participated in yesterday's masterclass and also this Monday's masterclass number 1 and 2. So we are keen on knowing why you are here. And again, Helena, as we said, this is important for Helena and me to be of the best service as we can during this hour. That's why we want to know why you are here. So let's see. Oh, hello, Jonas. Welcome to this masterclass. Nice hanging out here. So please write why you are here, and we will just see and pick that up. So let's see. Do we have any comments? Can you see that, Helena? It's
I can see that Katarina is in a cloudy Karlskrona, and I would just share that the clouds are just temporarily blocking the sun. So you have something to look forward to.
Okay.
And she was here, as we know, Monday and Tuesday. Welcome back. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, and now I see Katarina. Yeah, you are a 6. You were here, yes. And Stefan also 4 and 5. Third participation today. Mario, you are number 5. Great, thank you. And Martin is number 1. Christina, I am number 5. Brenda, 5. Great, thank you. So we have a couple.
So Eva, Brenda missed out on the first one, but she can actually find that in your LinkedIn profile. Isn't that true?
Yeah, it is. So Brenda, if you want to see the masterclass number 1, it is on my wall. So just look at my activities, and I will try to bring that activity up to this masterclass as well. So we will try to post it so you can see it and watch it later on now. Great. Okay, so Maria, welcome. So you are number 6. Okay, we'll just move on now. I think we covered it. So here's what we are going to cover. Masterclass 1 and 2 was about getting super clear on why sustainability and the SDGs will be crucial for your future business. And also Masterclass 2, who you serve and how you can best serve them in these challenging times. So these were the 2 masterclasses. And the third today is about what you need to do to integrate the Sustainable Development Goals in your business strategy. And Masterclass 4, oh, sorry, and I always forgot because this is super important. This masterclass is also about finding your focus and identifying where to start. Masterclass 4 will be about discovering the 6 steps of methodology of how to future-proof your business by integrating this strategy plan. So again, just a short story of mine and Helena's for you to know us a little bit more. About 11 and 12 years ago, I had this dream I woke up from, a physical dream. And I was asking myself this question of what my purpose in life was then and what I should work with. And I answered myself in a super clear voice in my dream that I should work for the United Nations. And that was really strange because I had never, ever talked about the United Nations. I was a businesswoman. I worked as a chemical engineer in different executive positions. And I work with business and business development mostly. So yeah, it was a bit strange to have this dream. However, this was so clear and crystal clear. So I had to investigate it, and I entered into UN schools. And eventually I discovered that the United Nations actually, they do great things and work with super large projects. And I discovered that they also have this huge marketplace where they procure goods and services from different countries. And Sweden is a huge contributor to the United Nations in financial terms. However, we are lousy at doing business with the United Nations. And business for me is also to provide knowledge, right, in products and services. So that was my quest to enter into the United Nations market and to bring in Sweden. And I actually had some problems doing that, several problems. And one of them was to qualify for procurement. And I discovered, and this was in 2016, I discovered that if I wanted to qualify for the procurement process, I needed to express the business into the SDG terms of how the company that I worked with could bring value to the United Nations through the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's when I started to work with a business strategy and integrate the SDGs into that company's business strategy. And I had success. We actually managed to get the Sweden's first frame agreement for IT consultancy services. And this was for eWork Group. So I had actually transformed myself, applying knowledge from business, and created this unique recipe of how to work with sustainability related to business and business strategy. And that is what I am teaching about. So my mission today is that I truly believe that the future is equal. And I also believe in the power of daring to lead. So my mission is actually to spread the message of Dare to Lead on a global scale. So this was just a short introduction of me, and I would also like to introduce Helena, which is my friend and partner. And Helena, please share your story.
Thank you so much, Eva. Well, you've mentioned that we are business women, and we certainly are. But you also mentioned that your dream came 11, 12 years ago, which made me think. I actually lived in China 15 years ago with my family, and that's where I went truly interacting with human rights. And 10 years back, my role as a businesswoman actually took me to South Africa for the first time. And that's where I found out that the greatest gift is to give. And, you know, doing business without a purpose, it's no fun at all. So being a compassionate leader in Swedish industry in different leading roles, I found, or actually it have made me convinced that business can and must build on doing well by doing good. And that's actually what sustainability means to me, taking in all three parts, social, economic, and environmental side of the sustainability challenge. That is also an opportunity, as you know, after listening to me now for a couple of days. Every challenge has an opportunity. And working with Eva for many years now, I took her pilot course, Business for SDGs, 2 years ago. And since then, I've been working very much with my purpose of creating a world equal by design. It's amazing how much you can learn. You're supposed to be the teacher, but you're also the student at the same time. Reading your comments, interacting with companies. I'm out in different board of directors, managing groups, dairy farms, actually driving the question of sustainability and putting it on the table for all of us to have a better world. So yeah, that's me.
Wow. Thank you, Helena. And I love your SDG number 5. Gender equality,
nice.
In Swedish. Yeah, that's your favorite one, right?
Yeah, I think that to make the world a better place, we need to engage all the people on this earth. And right now, we are leaving half of the population behind, and that's not okay.
Oh, great. Thanks. Okay, so let's see. A quick recap from Masterclass 1, the arguments, why you need to integrate SDGs into business strategy. Again, it's a global common language. And as I told you the story about the company, eWork Group, that I brought into the UN market, it is much easier to match business with if you use the Sustainable Development Goals and express your value of delivery to your clients through the goals. Investor requirements, of course, ESG and risk management is super important. ESG stands for environmental social governance. And we talked also about legislation, conventions, international expectations arising from the Agenda 2030. And it also creates value, both for regarding employer branding, but also for marketing. And it gives you increased business opportunities. And I will show you the next slide why. And procurement. This is super important for companies to stay in business, to actually qualify for both public and private procurement. And that is uptaken in the SDG number 12.6 and 12.7. So the opportunities, again, just this is the Bible. You need to read Better Business, Better World. It is written by the United Nations, and you can just browse it and find it. What it says is that there are 12 trillions of business opportunities within 4 segments per year until the year 2030. And these are within these 4 segments. And they are also divided up in 60-ish market areas. And well, Helena, we said yesterday that it is $12 trillion. It is like 18 zeros in Swedish crown.
Yes, a lot.
Per year. Yeah, a lot. And why is that? Well, it is because the agenda says that what will happen, or what we want to achieve by the year 2030, is to eradicate poverty, reduce injustice and inequalities, and solve the climate crisis. And that requires a lot of work and a lot of investment and solutions. And that's why it also creates opportunities, business opportunities. So,
and Eva, you mentioned procurement in the picture before, and just to mention, I've been giving examples Monday and Tuesday, and another example is actually the furniture company of Sweden. Maybe you've heard of IKEA. If not, you should look up IKEA worldwide. It's a good company, actually driving the sustainability question quite hard. And they created a shared value initiative a few years back, where they said that in 2020, we will not have small plastic parts in our stores. And that's... when you heard that the first time, you thought, oh my God, how are they supposed to do that? And that's where the procurement part is actually getting into place, because they have their suppliers. They are huge as a company. They work close with their suppliers, demanding their suppliers to give them another opportunity for the small plastic parts. And today, you can't find the plastic when you go to the cafeteria, or you can still buy some plastic parts as their products, but not small ones. And that's a way of how you can change the environment that you are working in, driving your suppliers and your stakeholders to actually deliver what you demand them to do.
Yes, and that's about daring to lead. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So business for SDGs, as Helena also said, you actually enrolled. You were the first one in my first pilot, and well, what it's about is this. Step number one, it is about understanding the SDGs, and we covered this during the Masterclass 2 of the 17 SDGs and 169 sub-targets. It is really important for you to understand it, so you can map it to your value chain and tailor your SDG approach. And then step number 2 is about defining priorities. So identify your stakeholders, and then choose your most important stakeholders to do your materiality assessment to determine which of these SDGs that matters most to you. Because as I think it was Katarina, you also notice that there are a lot of sub-targets to handle, and there are actually 169 sub-targets that you need to choose between, because you cannot start to work with all of them in the first work. You have to do it stepwise. So finding focus is really important. Step number 3 is about setting goals and evaluate. To set time-bound goals that reflect your priorities and define your level of ambition. And then also establish an evaluation and communication plan. And that's actually your strategy plan, right? So when you have that, that's when your work starts, because then you need to integrate it. You need to implement it into your business. And this is truly important, that you appoint managers in your business to ensure that these objectives and your evaluation plan are implemented and monitored accordingly. So do not choose a sustainability manager that will be responsible for the whole work, because that won't do it. You have to appoint managers in your company. And then you can do a certification or a verification we mentioned in masterclass number 1, in Sweden, we will have the ISO 26000 and the self-declaration being launched this January, where companies can verify their sustainability work and also use that self-declaration as a sustainability report, and also be able to become verified by a third party. And that could be Varti of Sweden, of course, but also other companies that are doing third-party verifications or certifications. And then super important to follow this up, report and communicate. Transparent reporting is truly important. And step 7 is actually one of my favorite steps, because that is about partnership. That is about unifying sectors and stakeholders. And also that's where you can find new innovation, new ways of doing business, and new economic financial models, for example, business models. And also that you can craft meaningful CSR programs to take you further. Okay, so we covered step number 1 in the masterclass 1 and 2, and we also did step 2 by identifying our stakeholders. But today we are going to do the materiality assessment. So just
maybe, Eva, we should just mention for those who wasn't with us Monday and Tuesday that what we actually showed between step 1 and 2, or what's covered in step 1 and 2, and part of step 2 is actually a business analysis with a SWOT and so on, and a benchmark, just to get everyone.
So and I have that actually in these slides, because as you said, value chain, to first map your value chain is really important, to know how your value chain looks like, especially if you are a startup. You really need to figure out your value chain. And then, as you said, Helena, we talked about business intelligence with an external perspective, and SWOT is one tool to do a business intelligence analysis. And but you can also do a benchmark with your peers, benchmark with your competitors, for example. And then when you have your value chain, you've done your business intelligence with the external perspective, put on the SDG glasses. This is super important, that you understand the SDGs and the sub-targets. So you really need to read about it. And the SDG Compass is a good site to read about the 169 sub-targets and how they can relate to your company and business. And this is just an example of like your value chain with the raw materials, suppliers, inbound logistics, company operations, distribution, product use, and product end life. And also, when you put on your SDG glasses, you can map the SDGs against your value chain by taking the actions that increase positive impact of the SDGs, but also activities that minimize negative impacts of the SDGs. And you could have, like you see here, you could have the same SDGs on the positive side, but also on the negative side. So this is just an example for you of how to map your value chain against these SDGs. And remember, it is not good enough if you only pick and choose by the 17 SDGs. You really need to dig down into the sub-targets.
Why is that, Eva?
Well, because that's good. Well, it is because you don't want to cherry pick the SDGs. You really need to make sure that you look at your risks and address even those SDGs that are, impacting your business in a negative way. And you really need to be aware of your risks and address them, and being transparent about it. Would you add something else to that, Helena?
Well, I'm just thinking two things. One is that when we started off in Masterclass 1, we were talking about the goal that was close to your heart, like goal number 5 is to me. And then you also went through the employer branding part. And so if you have the possibility to work for a company that actually create change in your goal close to your heart, then I would guess that you're in the right place. If not, try to put your goal close to your heart up on your company's agenda, because working for a purpose that you actually feel for will make a lot more happen in your company. That was one thing. The other thing was actually that when you are picking your targets, like Eva said, it's very important to be transparent. Transparency is the key. You need to be vulnerable here. You need to really put out to the world what you are doing not good at all. Like, for instance, we have a few companies in the food industry that actually have palm oil in their products. And no one is not very keen of buying products with palm oil, when that's something you have to put on the table and say, we are using palm oil, but because of doing that, we are also working with this and this and that to make sure that the areas where we grow the trees for the palm oil is taken care of in a sustainable way. And we are also working on innovation to try to drive palm oil out of our product.
Yeah.
So and that's also a good start for global partnership, to bring in the NGOs, bring in the culture where you're working, and try to solve the problem together, and then everyone will be much more satisfied, I guess.
Yeah, that's really good example of being a transparent and being aware of the risks and problems that you're causing. So great, thank you, Helena. Then we talked about the stakeholders, to identify your stakeholders, and that could differ from company to company, of course. So this is just an example of different stakeholders. And I also showed you this slide of another example of stakeholders. And to find your focus, you really need to choose your most important stakeholders. So if you have, if you grade it from 1 to 5, how the stakeholder impacts on your company and their interest of your company, then you can plot it into this graph and see if where your most important stakeholders are. And it's always in the right corner, up in the right corner. That's where your most important stakeholders are, because they are impacting your company the most, and also have the highest interest of your company. And we also talked about how to manage these stakeholders and how to communicate with them. And it's important that you manage your most important stakeholders closely. And the others, you could keep them satisfied, or monitor, or just keep them informed. All right, so that's what we did. And yeah, so we actually are in the step, we have done step 1, and we are in step 2 now. We are going to do the materiality assessment. But before we get into that, you had this task yesterday of choosing or mapping your value chain, and doing your SWOT, and also identifying your stakeholders. So I think you managed to do that, those of you who participated in Masterclass 2. However, if you have any questions regarding the task that you, or the exercises from yesterday, you could actually share it in the chat and put it in the chat if you have any reflections from yesterday's masterclass. So put that please in the comments and we will bring it up. Okay. So do you see any comments, Helena? Because
no, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So we will give you some time. So if you have questions regarding the value chain, regarding the SWOT, the stakeholder analysis, please put up your questions and we will try to answer those. But I think we will meanwhile move on because the time is running up soon here. We have like 20 minutes left.
Eva, do you think we have time? I could share another spin-off on the example that with palm oil.
Yeah.
Because we were actually looking at the quadrant for stakeholders just before this picture. And we said you have to pick who you're managing closely and who you're keeping satisfied and so on. So I know Eva talked about media yesterday, and if you try to get into this example of palm oil, you're a food industry, you're producing a product with palm oil, and all of a sudden you get an NGO outside of your headquarters striking, saying that you are no good, then you have to manage media closely.
Yep. Yes.
And you also have to manage these NGOs that actually have an interest in the areas where you grow the trees for bringing out palm oil. Yeah. And you might also need to keep the natives of that area satisfied. So that's just a spin-off on the example on how you can think when you're working with your stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders?
Yeah, great. We have actually Sarah says, do you have an example of a SWOT from another company? So that could be like, I think we talked about you and I, Helena, we discussed the SWOT of a company, right? You mentioned about the was it the trees? Do you remember?
Yes, the FSC certification. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So let's say that you are producing company. You producing products from wood. Now, cutting down trees is not something that that the world likes right now. I guess all of you are familiar with the Amazonas and the situation there. We're cutting down trees to get more land, to grow more food, and so on and so on. So what's needed to do if you have wood in your products is actually to do it in the proper manner with the FSC certification. And if you bring that to the SWOT, then that is actually a threat for you, that maybe the legislation would say that you're not supposed to use wood at all. Then you have a problem. That might be a threat, but it could also be an opportunity to make sure that you are the company daring to lead how we use wood in products in the future. Like IKEA with the plastic products, you can be the wood company driving that challenge to an opportunity for more companies.
Yeah, okay. Great. Sorry, I was reading the comments here because I can see that we have some questions on the SWOT. Stefan says it was unclear how to use the headlines. Okay, the SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your company. This is from your perspective, and it has to do with the business intelligence, as we said. And you want to send a picture. However, I don't think it's possible to send a picture, but we can see if we can have the chat in the comments here on LinkedIn. I could not send a picture in the comments field here. Yeah. But yeah, we think this. We have the same in mind. Okay, good, Stefan. We will take that later on. So there are, and Christina says examples are appreciated. Okay, we will actually. We have. I mean, we have a lot of examples. Actually, there has been about 130-ish companies going through the Business for SDGs program. So there are a lot of examples. And I would like to share my screen again, because now we are getting into the materiality assessment. And actually we have an example there, which we will show you just in a minute. Let's see, because the materiality is about, it is based on your stakeholder survey, right? So again, you are choosing your most important stakeholders, and then you are going to address those SDGs or the sub-targets that you have identified and linked to your value chain. So you need to ask questions now to your most important stakeholders and plot it into this graph. And so what is most important for your most important stakeholders, and how is that impacting your business? And again, the most important ones are the ones in the red circle. So we have a really wonderful company that did the Business for SDGs program called SmartHead. And they did this materiality assessment based on the stakeholder survey. So that's how these are the SDGs that they identified. And these are the ones that was most important of issue on their stakeholders and importance of issue on their business. So as you can see, there are a couple of these SDGs and sub-targets that they identified. But this is not enough, because if you only do it based on your stakeholders, it won't link to your business strategy. So that's why you need to really think out of a company strategy perspective, and do an internal strategic prioritization, which will be your new materiality, how this is impacting your business, and if you can control it, if you have high ability to control and influence it within your company. And those that are plotted within the red circle will be your priorities. So again, for SmartHead, they reprioritized it actually. They did their materiality assessment, internal strategic prioritization, which then became their new materiality assessment. And it is interesting to see, because to compare the out of perspective from your stakeholders, but also from your business strategic perspective, because it could be that you are more aware of things than your customers, or those that you are having communication with your customers. So, for example, if you are aware of that gender equality is good for business, because you know that gender equality, diversity, and inclusion drives business performance, but your customer lack that knowledge, you still have to prioritize that for your business, because you know that this will be crucial for your company, right? So if you just compare, like, wrong way. If you compare this here, materiality assessment based on your stakeholder survey, look at the number 17. You have 2 different 17s. Encourage effective partnership and enhance the global partnership for sustainable development, for example. Or you can look also at the SDG 5, how it's moving when you look for your internal strategic prioritization. You can see that these are moving depending what you know, what you are aware of, and your strategic approach within your company. Okay? Are you with me here? Did you understand the materiality? So this will be your exercise 5, to plot your materiality assessment, high impact on business versus low impact on business, and high ability to control influence versus low ability to control and influence, and choose the ones in the red circle. And this exercise requires thorough work. You need to anchor it with your executive management team, because again, this has to do with your strategy, business strategy. So it is not just a one man's or one person's task. It is like you have to do it within your executive management team. You won't be able to do it today. We just want to show you that you need to do this step. And we want to tell you about how and what you need to do to make this step possible. Okay? If you have questions on this, just please write that in the chat, and we will try to answer it. Helena, do you have anything to add here or any reflections?
Well, I could just mention that we're talking here about that the exercise requires thorough work, and of course you have to anchor it with your executive management team, and it's a big no to just put your sustainability officer in responsibility of all this work. One thing that is actually what I would call a success is if you can anchor these questions with your employees. So that you work both top down and bottom up. Because if you can get these questions to be important from bottom up perspective, then you know that you will succeed with your goals. Because then everyone gets a purpose to work for, and that will engage your employees much more. And I would also say that that's actually what the millennials are looking for, a company that could actually anchor the purpose with them. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Helena. You're wonderful. I love your reflections. Okay. So this was exercise 5. Then you need to move on your evaluation plan and your communication strategic plan. So this will be your strategy plan of setting goals and evaluating. Because if you do not set up goals, and if you won't measure it, things the goals will not be done. You have to prioritize it and set up SMART goals: specific, measurable, accepted, relevant, and time-bound goals. So it is truly important. Okay, we have actually a question here, because before we enter into this evaluation and strategy plan, we have Ruhija. She says, why companies should focus on most important stakeholders and not all stakeholders? Well, it is because to find your focus, to prioritize. So what you need to do is to find that focus, prioritize, and start the work. And that is about narrowing it down and choose just a couple of these SDGs that are most relevant for your business. And that is to choose your most important stakeholders. However, when you have the value chain and you have plotted all the SDGs and sub-targets, in your long-term perspective strategy, you could include all of them. but do not start to work with all of them in the beginning, because you really need to find focus and start somewhere, and then add on several of these SDGs, and add on to those stakeholders that are, not the most important ones, but also still important. So typically, like if you have like a plan, 1 year plan, 2 year plan, 5 year plan, you need to manage that, and that's by finding focus, prioritizing, and starting to do the work, and also celebrate your achievements.
And there are a few things here. I mean, sometimes you need to reach a certain goal to be able to even go further with another goal. So sometimes it's very important to canalize your goal setting with SMART goals. There's a metaphor that if you go into a hench and you're chasing 2 rabbits, you will go empty-handed from that hench. So focus on 1 rabbit and you will catch it.
Yep.
So that's not only for the stakeholders, that's absolutely for the goal setting. Another metaphor is that if you are running a 100 meters race, if you start looking at the other competitors, you will lose focus. And then you will lose that race. So you have to find, that's the line I will go beyond, and that this is my race. And then do that race the best you can. Don't stop after 70 meters. You need to go all 100. And when you're finished, then you can put up some new goals.
Yep. Great. I hope we answered your question. So setting goals and evaluate and communicate then. Well, first of all, the first column says essential SDG area. This is where you put up what SDG area is it that you're working with, especially the sub-targets. So this is just an example of compliance control, which is SDG number 16. And then explain to your company or your employees, why is it essential? For example, this example says that it's efforts to combat suspected corruption and non-compliance is crucial from an economic, social, and environmental perspective. So this is the why. You always need to explain the why, especially when you talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, because as we said, I think in the first masterclass, these goals, they were written for countries. And sometimes it is difficult for companies to understand how it's relevant for them. So, you need to translate it into your company's language so that your coworkers and employees understand them. Okay, so the next step is, the third column is control. How do you control it? For example, in this example, you control it in your onboarding of your suppliers, employees, partners, etc. Maybe you have a code of conduct that is reflecting or mirroring the UN Global Compact, and you ensure that all of your suppliers, employees, partners, etc. sign up for or sign the your code of conduct. And then you set up the objective. So, and you need to have the baseline somewhere, some kind of baseline versus target. So, for example, the baseline 2020 is to be, you are 35% compliant, but you want to be 100% compliant by the year 2025. So that's an example. And then you need to monitor, ensure how you monitor it. For example, you measure and follow up all suppliers once per year. And who's responsible? Again, this is really important. Not to write the sustainability manager, but it could be your purchasing department or logistics, or it could also be the HR, for example. So this is about setting goals and evaluating. Okay.
We have a question, Eva.
Yes. Well, just before just before we head on to the questions, this is the exercise, next exercise to do in your workbook. And this exercise requires thorough work as well. Establishing this plan, you need to do it with your executive management team. So again, you won't be able to do it here today with us, but bring it back to your company, to your team, and make this exercise plan. And it's connected towards your materiality assessment, right? So, okay, we will share the questions then. Okay, we had another question. Who is determining which stakeholders are most important and which are not? Shall gender equality be integrated into such evaluation process? Shall stakeholders be involved in such an evaluation process? Yeah, so who's determining which stakeholders are most important and which are not? Well, again, that is your management team. That is your executive management team, or it could be like if you gather a team with a strategic perspective who understands your business, together you will know who your most important stakeholders are. So again, it is important that it's not one person who's deciding who's the most important stakeholder.
Eva, I would say that the business analysis together with the SWOT is very important in this question. Yes. To make sure that it's close to the company's heart.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why you need to understand the business and the company that you work in, the strategy behind it. And that's why you also need to do the business intelligence analysis. So, and you also ask, shall gender equality be integrated into such evaluation process? Yeah, so you mean the evaluation and communication plan, the strategy plan? Yes, I do think, or no, I don't, I know. Sorry, I don't think, I know. Gender equality is super important for companies because gender equality, diversity and inclusion drives economic growth and innovation. And you really need to have that in place in your company to become, the winner of tomorrow's economy. You really need to have it.
And if you have this information and this knowledge on how super important it is, it could be good when you're communicating with stakeholders. You might find that they are not aware of this.
Yep.
That's unfortunately quite common, that they are not aware of how important this is. But then that's very important knowledge for you to know whether you need to work with this without their knowledge or together with them, because sometimes we need to be smart businesswomen.
Yep. Great. And then you have the third question. Shall stakeholders be involved in such an evaluation process? Yeah, when you do the business intelligence analysis from the outer perspective, then you could bring in some stakeholders to have that in the process, of course. And that could be like management consultants, for example. That could also be your owners or your investors. They are many times aware of things like gender equality driving economic growth, for example. So, for example, I would say NASDAQ, they just put up a framework for gender equality in listed companies. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. And the EU is also driving the gender equality agenda for economic growth. So, so bringing in your owners, your investors, for example, could be a good thing, or management consultants who has this outer perspective. Okay, let's see. Wow, our time is up, Helena. We are
too many examples.
So okay, so it is 5 o'clock here in Sweden. So we need to wrap this up, and I just want to share the last slides with you. So what we want you to do now is that, well, let's just take this further. Your task for Monday then will be to go through your whole workbook from start to end, but focus especially on the materiality assessment now and the evaluation plan, because what we are going to work with on Monday is the most important thing. It is about integrating to discover the 6 steps methodology of how to future-proof your business by integrating the strategy plan. So you really need to do this homework now and come back on Monday to understand how you integrate it into your company. How do you implement it? Because I think that's the most difficult part. You have this wonderful, beautiful strategy plan, but then you need to execute on it. And how do you do that? And what are the pitfalls? So that's what we are going to share on Monday. And oops. Again, we would like to end with this beautiful picture. Begin with the end in mind. Start with the end outcome and work backwards to make your dream possible. That was all for today. And yeah, Helena, I would like to thank you all for watching us again. And thank you, Helena, for being here. And we'll see you on Monday.
Nice
Thank you.
to be here. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.